Thank you.
I think live Rajiv से एक मिनट live हो जाए YouTube पे. We need to make live on YouTube.
It's live, Nidhi.
Yeah, we are live now. Thank you, Nidhi, for such a nice introduction. And I would say I have not seen everything in my life. I'm still seeing many things, learning many things. And as I'm going to introduce our speaker today, I'm still feeling that I'm way behind because she has written 11 books and I have just written one. So I want to welcome Shobha Nihalani. She's been writing since last 25 years. Wow, I just thought of writing last year only. And she has lived in countries like Africa, Asia, North America, Europe, and now she is in Hong Kong. Writing has been a journey through self-discovery. For her, she has written thrillers, adventures, psychological suspenses, and non-fiction also. 10 books published, and I think 11th is also launched on 17th of September this year only. And with the release of the last book, Reboot, Reflect, Revive, Self-Esteem in a Selfie World, she has taken a journey to her 11th book, and she is now on the journey to create awareness of the importance of self-esteem. Self-esteem is more than merely recognizing one's positive qualities. It is an attitude of acceptance and non-judgmental towards self and others. So I'll not take much time. I'll just ask her to come on stage and give us the good points about self-esteem. What I can think of self-esteem before selfie world came into being was when we used to look in the mirror and used to say, I love myself, I am good. That was kind of self-esteem in our days when we were students. So today it's connected to selfie world. So Shobha, it's all yours. Please enlighten us about your book as well as this topic. Thank you.
Thank you, Rajiv ji. Very kind of you. Lovely introduction. It's fabulous to be here on Brainciti and to share my views on self-esteem. It is a personal journey. I've experienced self-esteem issues, and therefore through that, I decided to delve deeper into the topic, and that's how this book came about, Reboot, Reflect, Revive, Self-Esteem in a Selfie World, because a lot of studies and research has been done on the effects of self-esteem on different age groups, on children, on teenagers, and as well as adults. So with the advent of social media, many methods of communication has evolved. The way we are connected to the wider world, in the sense through technology, we have a wider access to the world and to different cultures and different people and the way they communicate. So in that sense, the way we feel about ourselves has taken on a more important and relevant situation in our times, especially because most of us are connected 24/7. So without further ado, I'm just going to share a PowerPoint, and then after that we can have some Q&A, and we can discuss further in detail. Hope that's okay.
Yeah, thank you. Please start.
Okay. Okay, self-esteem in a selfie world, what does it mean? So the first time the word selfie was used was in Australia in 2002. This is the buzzword of our hypertech times. I'm sure all of you would agree to that. And it has given us something deeper to think about. Now let's go a little bit further back in time. A decade ago, Instagram, the photo sharing and social networking service, introduced auto filters, allowing users to easily alter their photos. Since the word selfie was so popularly used, In 2013, the word was added to the Oxford English Dictionary. It became the International Word of the Year in 2013. Now let's go forward a little bit. In 2017, a report by UK's Royal Society for Public Health said Instagram was the social media platform with the worst effect on the mental health of young people. Recently, many countries have passed laws that require influencers to mention that the photos have been edited. Snapping a selfie may seem like a nice way to capture a memory, but it actually has a major impact on our self-esteem. When you take a selfie, you cannot help but evaluate your appearance and compare it to other people. Unlike the prior era where we, had to wait for a photo to be printed, now your appearance, clothing, facial expression, hairstyle, demeanor, all are visible immediately, and with imaging software, every photo can be altered, refined for online sharing.
Shobha,
I just checked. Yes?
Yeah, could you put it in the presentation mode? Because we can just see the first slide.
Okay, I'm not sure how to do that.
Yeah, below, near the footer on the right side, the TV kind of a thing, the screen next to that. Yeah, that's it.
Okay. Is that better?
Yes, better.
Okay. Thank you for that, Nana. Okay, I just checked today. Instagram has around 460 million photos tagged with the hashtag selfie. And I'm sure there are many more people who don't even use that hashtag. But definitely you can see how this word has taken over our lives. Selfies have become the modern day axe, chopping down ourselves because we feel, in comparison to others, that we are not good enough. Now, let me share a bit about self-esteem. To understand its context in the selfie world, in psychology, the term self-esteem is used to describe a person's overall subjective sense of personal worth or value. In other words, self-esteem may be defined as how much you appreciate and like yourself, regardless of the circumstances, regardless of flaws. Your self-esteem is defined by many factors. How do I go to the next slide? Okay. So according to certain psychologists, self-esteem is the ultimate marker for psychological health. So to understand self-esteem is to understand that we cannot see, hear, or touch it, but it affects us in the most profound way. When we look at ourselves in the mirror, we judge. When we listen to our inner voice, we can hear the criticism. And that then affects how we feel about ourselves. A 19th century psychologist, William James, says our self-worth is based on certain external outcomes, which can be success or failure. So our self-esteem tends to fluctuate. It changes based on the way we believe in our ability to perform a task. So someone with a healthy sense of self is more likely to achieve goals, and a person who has low self-esteem will feel that they are not worthy of successful outcomes. The low self-esteemers and high self-esteemers may have the same goals and aspirations, but it is the ones with healthy self-esteem who tend to be more resilient and motivated, even when facing obstacles. Now, you would think that very few people have experienced it or they don't really talk about it, but celebrities also have experienced this. Many well-known personalities have shared their issues with self-esteem. People like Jennifer Lopez, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Michelle Obama shared in her book, Becoming, that she struggled with imposter syndrome, which is the inability to believe that one has the skills, talent, or the capacity to perform, and it is linked to self-esteem issues. Everyone knows about Oprah Winfrey. Self-esteem comes from being able to define the world in your own terms and refusing to abide by the judgments of others, is what she's quoted as having said. In 2019, Vidya Balan courageously shared about how she felt when she was body shamed. when she was called too fat. Priyanka Chopra shared her experiences as a child when she struggled with low self-esteem. In adulthood, she was weighed down by expectations to look perfect after she won the Miss World in the year 2000. In her memoir titled Unfinished, she shares about the emotional pain she went through. Body shaming is a form of bullying. It can result in severe emotional trauma. If you think about it as an observer, we do live in a culture that is obsessed with everything: beauty, popularity, likes, trends, and much more. A certified confidence coach, Diana Marelba, says the feeling that we are not good enough comes from our self-beliefs. That is, ideas about who we are, ideas that develop initially in our formative years. These ideas affect how we feel about ourselves, feelings which in turn influence how we behave, respond, and act in adulthood. These ideas and beliefs are so ingrained, we don't even realize that they are there. Every thought that floats into our minds carry an effect on every decision we make in life. According to recent studies conducted in the US, 7 out of 10 girls aged 8 to 17 have negative opinions of themselves in their looks, school performances, relationships with family and friends. Research tells us that majority of girls are insecure and unsure of themselves. There isn't enough studies to show whether after the age of 17, what happens to self-esteem. Why? Because the studies have to take in multiple factors. The fact is that we have a wider access to people as a result of technology and social networking sites. And that's the place where people get to know about other cultures, and the similarities are glaring. The glaring similarities are how mostly everyone puts up a facade of being happy, capable, and successful. Most of these feeds are shared on social media sites. As a result, there is a domino effect, and people who scroll through these feeds are affected. We compare ourselves to others, to strangers even, from other parts of the world. Fat is bad, dark is ugly, thin is weak. There are just too much, too little, not good enough judgments that impact our self-esteem. The more we internalize social media and its messaging, the more our self-esteem is at risk. Imagine living with someone who constantly badgers you with non-stop criticism and negativity. But then it's not another person, it's this person in your head that's attacking you. So the attacker and the attacked is the same person. When someone suffers internally with this kind of self-hate, they struggle alone and maintain an outward appearance of confidence. We are plugged in and available 24/7 and tend to take on heavier workloads than ever before. This kind of hyper-competitive environment leads to many people suffering from perfectionism. We are in a culture of being visible on social media, and if you are visible, you have to look and be perceived in a certain way, which is filtered to show the best. As a result of which we start finding flaws in ourselves. Then we wish to change the parts of ourselves that we assume is broken. So we are in a constant fix-it mode, constantly trying to fix ourselves after comparing ourselves to others. If we cannot achieve these impossible standards, we become harder on ourselves. We are essentially our own worst critics, which results in our self-esteem constantly taking a punch each time we are in some post or forum or comparison mode, or reaching for some arbitrary standard of perfection. A psychologist says that some aspects of perfectionism can be positive, no doubt, We are motivated to achieve our best. We see others succeed and we feel inspired. But the problem with certain aspects of perfectionism is that if it becomes the all or nothing mentality, which means in your mind, you're saying that anything I do should be either perfect or it's a failure. And if it's a failure, then I'm a failure. The internal language that we have becomes toxic self-judgment leading to self-hate. The torment can be as bad or worse than physical pain. Some therapists say that. So what is imposter syndrome? This is all a result of culture of comparison. You know, when you speak in public, you feel a certain amount of nervousness when facing an audience. It is a temporary insecurity that passes. But with imposter syndrome, it is a permanent sense of insecurity. According to Dr. Valerie Young, a psychologist, she says that a person struggling with this syndrome, no matter how well they do or how loud the applause or the praise, the imposter part always doubts and believes that they could have done better or believes that they just got lucky. Imposter syndrome is the feeling that you are a fraud despite all evidence to the contrary. It implies to an extent that we do not trust our own abilities. Now, again, we have the culture of evaluation. But before that, I just want to tell you a little bit more about imposter syndrome because I get a lot of people asking me about it. So a study found that low self-esteem and imposter syndrome are intertwined in that people with low self-esteem are particularly vulnerable. A New York-based psychiatry specialist and author explains that changing ingrained ideas is very difficult. Some people with low self-esteem continue to feel bad about themselves despite all the successes they have in the world. Although their accomplishments are clear and everyone thinks well of them, they feel that they will be asked to do something beyond their abilities, and the world will see then that they have been faking it. It is important to realize that you can enjoy your success and you are worthy of praise. So she suggests reflection, which helps to refine our thoughts, evaluate our capabilities, and set realistic goals. Another psychotherapist says that self-esteem tends to be misunderstood. The first half of the expression self would seem to think that esteem, the second half of the expression, is derived from oneself. Yet if we look closely, we find that most people seek a sense of worthiness from that which lies outside ourselves. So according to him, what we call self-esteem is in fact other esteem. Wishing to be liked by someone else leads to inadequacies in ourselves, in distrusting our own strength. So we should never judge ourselves based upon how we think others see us. When we are looking for approval from others, we are actually denying our own self. We are not giving ourselves a chance to do what we want to do. We do what we expect will get us the most compliments or the praise. Doing what you value, what you feel intrinsically is more important. If you live your life from a false self, denying your unique qualities, you end up later with, I didn't want to do this, but I did because it would make so-and-so impressed. This is an unhealthy and soul-defeating exercise. The key to trusting ourselves and developing our self-esteem is found by accepting our own fears and vulnerabilities. There is no shame in being imperfect. Now, finally, fear of failure. People are not perfect. Nobody breezes through their social and work life effortlessly. On the contrary, everyone experiences suffering. There's a constant bombardment of seemingly perfect images in advertisements and social media. These spaces are populated by carefully curated selfies and even airbrushed images. This can outstrip our sense of perspective. We tend not to share our true feelings of weaknesses, the behind the scenes strife and pain. The universal human vulnerability is a rich part of life, something that we as a society need to share. And this is the truth of our everyday life. We must share the pains as much as we share the glories. So how can you tell if you have a fragile self-esteem? 3 questions. Do you criticize yourself all the time? Do you compare yourself to others a lot? Do you have FOPO, fear of people's opinion? If you answered yes, there are ways to deal with it. There's no one-size-fits-all solution. If you are deeply affected, then you have to think about what you need to do next. So the point is, the mind is a tool. The question is, do you use the tool or does the tool use you? Thank you. Okay, exit.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
You can do stop sharing automatically.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, I'm open to questions if anyone, and comments. Do share, please.
Anybody has any questions, they can write in the chat box, or you can raise your hand and just ask, unmute yourself. Professor Bhatia, I think you have unmuted.
Yeah. I can say one thing. See, the self-esteem is a much bigger burden, this one. That we have to maintain, that always we say. What is to be maintained, that our own dignity and other things, our real personality, what we actually want to show this world. But through the selfie and other thing, we pose differently and different pictures comes. That is one area. And secondly, you also said that when it is being further propagated or presented, there is always a possibility of modifying that. So this can be a very negative, and very beautifully you say, do you want to use it as a tool, or you want to you become a tool to that? So that is very important aspect of that. So one should be careful using your selfies with that respect. You should maintain your self-esteem, and that should be actually projected through the selfies when you want to project outside, then no doubt about it. And that you have to take adequate care in that neither it get modified, and also you give your body language and the presentation in such a way that your personality reveals that. That's, let us say that you are fearless, okay? And you are just putting a face like this, giving a acting on that, and the body expresses as if you are very fearful. I mean, it does not give you the right thing, right? And you are a strong leader, let us say, and where you say, no, I will go like that. If that is the type of expression come through the selfie, I mean, it hampers your self-esteem and all.
Correct. So the point you said.
So how you respect and how you want to get respected, that is what the bridge, and that bridge need to be bridged out. I mean, there should not be a gap.
I agree with you, Professor Bhatia. Very true. You hit the nail on the head, that having a self-esteem as an unshakable internal solidarity, that being calling it your inner strength, maintaining it, and constantly being aware on how it's getting affected, is the fact that what we need to create that reflection. We need to realize that this is who we are in terms of our inner strength. And therefore, when we are faced with situations, how do we deal with them without worrying about judgment, without worrying about fear of failure, and to make choices and decisions based on what we feel will be beneficial for us. So it is an unshakable inner strength. It is a conviction. It is having certainty in yourself that you can accomplish your specific goals, and with the humility. There is humility in this aspect of self-esteem. Humility is a very important part of it. It's like you acknowledge your strengths, but you also accept you have weaknesses. Nobody is perfect. So in that sense, when we face the reality of who we are, strengths and weaknesses, we can accept ourselves, flaws and all.
Absolutely right, Shobha. And I think in our engineering language, we do SWOT analysis, that is strengths, weaknesses, and opportunities. And I don't remember.
Yes.
SWOT analysis we used to do. And you see, a low self-esteem is a person who just undermines his own potential. When I started making my videos 2 years back, I was making it so shabbily, and I used to put it every day on the YouTube and on my social media platforms, LinkedIn and all. If you can go through those videos 2 years back, you can see I'm just walking in the morning and making my video, just getting up. But I had a belief that, okay, whatever I'm saying, that is correct. Whatever I'm looking, that doesn't matter at all. So that kind of thing, if you have got, I know I'm not a very good looking person, but the thing is that should not hinder myself or yourself to do what you want to do.
Absolutely.
So self-esteem is inside you. And there is one saying in our world, log kya kahenge. But
Log
when
kya
you,
kahenge, yeah.
So when you
we have
see
grown
that
up
there
with
is
that.
no, that is the thing which makes you self-conscious.
Correct.
And if you don't care what people will say, then your self-esteem will never go down. That is, I think, my way of thinking. Maybe you can correct it in a better way. But the thing is,
you are very, very well said that. But see, most of the time, self-esteem is a very positive attitude. Whether you have something today or you want to have it tomorrow, there's a way you should have. If that is getting hampered by whatever projections coming, that is a threat to that. And that care has to be taken. Whatever way we are projecting, whether physically we are presenting ourselves, or it is going to be selfie, or going to the our talk, going to anything of that nature. And if somebody gives a threat on that, and that derate that one, that is a threat to the esteem. We have to maintain. And you have to raise voice against that. You have to fight that. No, this is not what it is. This is precisely, you have misunderstood it. This is not what I mean. This is what it is not that. So that has to be taken as a pride to maintain that self-esteem.
Yes,
so that's why it is not an ego. It is not an ego that I am so and so. It is much different. Ego is a negative, whereas the self-esteem is a positive.
Yes, correct.
That
correct,
also you
right.
accept your wrongs and everything. But Rajiv, you talked about SWOT analysis. Yes, when you want to present yourself in a given this one, let us say, for example, you want to present yourself as a leader, then you have to do this SWOT analysis and find out whether you have all the ingredients that a leader should have. If it is not that, develop it to that level, and then you project.
Yes, so Rajiv ji, you're very right what you said earlier on about this log kya kahenge and the sense of self-consciousness and the understanding that it is within ourselves to develop and to compare ourselves not to anyone else but to ourselves, to compare ourselves to our yesterday, the way we were yesterday. The comparison should not hinder our progress in achieving our goals, in achieving what we choose to do, in making decisions in life. If we are constantly people pleasing, if we are constantly afraid of failure, if we are constantly thinking that, if I make a mistake, how will I react or how will anyone else react, then we are not going to progress much further in life. So Rajiv ji, you pointed out a good point. Professor Ji, you also shared about that it's not the ego. So I agree with you on that point, that it is a positive direction. The point about having a healthy self-esteem in this selfie world is that the reason we are affected more these days is that because our self-esteem is vulnerable to what we are being told in terms of what we see on social media, on what we see in terms of the trends and what we are or what we are expected to do in the workplace. So in a lot of times, our self-esteem is taking a hit in different areas of our life. So how do we handle it? So the point is that we have to handle it in a way that we don't crush ourselves, we don't linger in self-doubt, we don't tolerate the inner critic, we make friends with our inner critic, because they say that thoughts are just an interpretation of our reality. It's nothing to do with reality, it's a representation. And what we, and our thoughts, another person has said, which I shall share, that 50 to 60,000 thoughts a day, 80% tend to be negative. So a lot of times what we are putting into our heads and our thoughts is on automatic mode. We pick it up from around us. So there are a lot of these subtle details that we are not realizing because we are on auto mode. And recently in the pandemic, when people have suddenly come to realize that their minds, how the way they are thinking or what's happening in their world is that they do not have the ability to control things as they thought they could, they suddenly starting to reflect on their inner voice, their inner way of thinking, and their inflexible rules and shoulds and their conditioning from childhood. So a lot of reflection has come up, a lot of awareness, a lot of studies have been done on how we think, why the thoughts and our the words that we use, our behavior, our actions, how they are writing the story of our life. And therefore, the choices and decisions we make are entirely in our own hands. So it starts with our thoughts and thinking. And then, of course, that connects back to our self-esteem. So in that sense, there's a lot going on that we need to be more aware about and reflect on. Now, if I would like to share a quick tip, that if before you get on social media, just like you prepare yourself before you go into a meeting with anybody in your workplace, when you have before going for a meeting, you always prepare yourself. Before going on social media, just prepare yourself. Be aware. What are you going to see? How is it going to affect you? Be aware of what's happening internally. What are your thoughts when you see somebody who's better than you, who's doing amazingly, and you feel a little bit a sense of self-doubt creeping into your mind? Stop it right there. Think about it. What is going on in your head when you are on social media?
Correctly said, Shobha. So what is the Guru mantra to come out of your low self-esteem to boost it?
So there are many ways. First of all, you have to target your inner critic and listen to yourself. Are you a friend to yourself or are you an enemy to yourself? So the first thing is, how are your thoughts towards yourself? Are you nice to yourself? Are you forgiving when you make a mistake, or do you shout and get angry at yourself and berate yourself and scold yourself a lot? So a lot of these things first has to come to attention, and what it is that's happening internally in terms of your thoughts. So if you have negative thoughts, and not negative, I would say, if you have thoughts that is, it's like hostile towards the self, then be conscious of it and ask it why. Why is it that am I hostile towards this particular? So ask the question, and slowly, once the answers come up, you realize there was really no need to be so nasty to oneself. Would you talk to your friend like that? Would you criticize your friend like that? No. So why are you doing it to yourself? So first of all, addressing this inner critic that comes up from the moment you wake up to the moment you sleep at night. So it's constantly within you. So communication with the self, this internal dialogue is very important, first of all, okay, where low self-esteem comes into play. I can give you a personal example if you like. So as an author of many books I've written, and I've been published by very well-known publishing houses like Penguin and Hachette. And yet that was the third, the fourth, the fifth book. I still did not feel that sense of satisfaction within. I still was criticizing myself. I was still getting affected by negative reviews. Of course, I got many positive reviews, but I would spotlight the negative ones and then I would ruminate over it. I would be thinking about it. Why did that person did not like my book? But not everybody is going to like what I write. So that's one point that I need to come to terms with, that I personally am on a journey as an author. I should be happy with my work. No doubt, I want people to validate that it is good work, that I've done a good job with my book or writing my book. But it doesn't mean I should crush myself. I should take it as constructive criticism if I get reviews, and become, my next book should be better. So that's where I learned to challenge my inner critic, that yeah, I made a mistake, but I can get better. I can learn from my mistakes. It's part of life. No, but there's no manual, there's no tool book on how to lead your life perfectly. We are going to falter, we're going to make mistakes, we are going to have weak moments, but that's where we learn to develop ourselves and grow from there. So low self-esteem comes in comparison, when we do comparisons with other people. Oh, her life is better than mine. The grass is always greener than on the other side. But we don't know what those people are going through, right? So we need to be appreciative of what we have. Yes, sir.
No, there can be two things in that. See, it's whatever way it comes, it should not bring the negativity in the individual. That is one thing. We have to guard against that. We have to critically examine it, and no matter, because sometimes it may be even deliberate. If I don't like you, you have written a good book, but I will criticize in such a way that it gives you the feeling that there is some work is not worth. Okay, so that can also happen. So you have to use our own this one, and then criticize. No point it should bring the negativity. Yes, if there is a positive criticism, has to be taken and taken as an opportunity to improve it. That maintains your self-esteem, no doubt. What I personally feel is to maintain or enhance your self-esteem, the biggest tool is yourself, your true self.
Correct.
Your confidence, that you can stand on that.
Yes,
it's not a false picture you have created.
Few more people want to ask something.
Yes.
Is there,
Okay.
and Mr. Taga has also raised his hand.
Yes.
Mr. PK, please unmute yourself and you can ask your question. And then I think that Taga has also raised his hand.
Yes, good evening all. This is Pawan Kumar here. This is regarding self-esteem. When I see some of my managers, I work in a software company as a software engineer. I see some of the managers who are very co-friendly and speak like I should speak with them. And some managers, if I see them, I feel like something that stops me. Is that because they have more self-esteem? Because of that, they are not, their face or that aggression is much more in them rather than the other one. This is my question. Yeah.
Okay, so you mean from your lens of experience, you see two different personality types, and one you feel is a little bit more, like you would say, negative. Is that what it is?
Yeah, correct.
And another one is a little more interactive and more open to conversation, communication. Is it correct?
Correct. Yeah, correct.
Okay, so then it's a personality type. You could say that they have their own way of their own belief system of what they feel, how they want to interact with you. So it comes, I don't particularly think it is a self-esteem issue. I just think it's a personality type. Unless there's something specific they have said to you that you feel that it is coming from a place of self-esteem.
Okay. It's like it's a personality issue, right?
Yes, I personally feel that. More details, of course, in the communication style, you would probably be able to pick up on that.
Okay. Thank you, madam.
Thank you,
That would be
Pawan.
good.
And I
Yeah,
think
ma'am. Here I have
Saga,
one.
please speak on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it audible, sir? Rajiv, sir?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, madam. I have been listening to your all the conversation is really excellent, and I feel like this is for me too. So, like most of the people here are all my known peoples, and I'm very happy with every one of us. Rajiv sir, Bhatia sir, and our Naina ma'am also. Like we have been doing together. But my issue is always like this. When I talk to Bhatia sir in telephone and all, I can speak. It's okay. But when I come in presentation, then morning and so then when I talk with Naina and all, my words doesn't come out. Like it's a type of this thing. Yes, that's what you are telling exactly. So what would be the solution, ma'am? That is my question.
That's very interesting. Very interesting question there. I would say because, when you see the word professor, you know that this is a man to be regarded with great esteem. He's a man of great substance. So we will, hesitate to challenge anything he says. Just being honest. So yes, therefore there is a bit of hesitation. There is a little bit of that comes from that we have respect for him. Okay, to put it in that frame of reference is that we do respect professor because he's highly educated and he speaks from a place of knowledge. And with others, we have a sort of a feeling that we are on the same level of understanding and knowledge. Therefore, there's a more informal interaction. So that's probably where the hesitation comes from.
Absolutely right, Shobha. I think the Tagaji, you are mute. Please unmute yourself.
Okay, I got the answer. Thank you very much, ma'am. And
Very welcome. Thank you. Thank you for your question.
I think Mr. Narayanan also wanted to say something. I'm not able to see him. Mr. Narayanan, are you there?
yeah, Rajiv sir, I think better sir has left.
Okay. So, Shobha, it was a very nice presentation, and I think most of us who have not asked the questions, but they have understood at what level of self-esteem they are at. So, thank you very much for giving us some in-depth knowledge on self-esteem and how we can improve on it. Naina, you want to share something?
Yes, Rajiv, give me a moment.
Yeah.
Continue.
Okay, so I'll just say that the final point I would like to say that everyone is unique. Everyone has experienced different kinds of conditioning from their childhood to adulthood, and everybody is perfect just the way they are. So our life may be imperfect, but as humans, this is part of our experience to live, learn, make mistakes, and understand ourselves better. So I would just like to share with everybody that all of you are perfect the way you are, and be proud of yourself with humility.
I think accept as others are, and criticize yourself and improve it and present it. That will give a better self-esteem.
Very good.
I think
Be
don't
not
criticize yourself, just improve yourself.
That's
Yeah,
what I'm just improve yourself. That's all. You
Just
improve,
give me a moment.
you improve yourself and try to improve your surrounding. Others will get automatically improved.
Yes, and look at yourself with as a friend and with
Yeah.
compassion.
Yes.
Rajiv ji, go ahead.
So, Shobha, this is a token of appreciation, certificate of appreciation from our Brainciti on behalf of all of our team. I would like to thank you, and this certificate will be sent to you on your mail. And thank you very much for joining
Thank
us
you.
today. And,
Yeah, I'm very
sharing us-
grateful for this. I don't have too many certificates. This is really
Shobha, I can present you
on
one
the
to me.
wall.